Welcome to On Point by Target River, the podcast where strategy meets execution with a little fun. I'm your host, Brian, and each episode will break down what actually works in marketing, sales, and growth so you can stay sharp, focused, and always on point. Let's dive in. All right, so on this episode, if I already haven't on one of the previous ones, I'm going to age myself a little bit here or date myself. I don't know how many of you used to go to a library to do research. So when I first started going to a library in elementary school to do research, they taught us this thing called the Dewey Decimal System, okay? And it was basically every category or genre of books had different codes, and then more codes represented little more details about the book or the author or the title. So then when you were going to a library to find a book, you would look it up with that system and code and be able to find it at the library. Things got a little more technologically advanced when I was in college and would do research, went to the big old libraries. You'd look up and you'd find that, hey, there's an article that you're doing or there's a newspaper article that has information on a topic you're doing research on. So then you'd go gather the microfiche or film, lay it on a machine, and you'd be able to read that article from 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. It was valuable research, but it took a lot of time, and it was a very simple yet maybe complicated code that worked. How I'm relating that today is you probably all know the concept of search engine optimization, right? And hopefully you understand the basic concept, although it's probably one of the most difficult to understand and misunderstood terms in marketing and misexplained terms in marketing. So the basic premise with search engine optimization is this. If someone asks their computer, their search engine, their platform a question, gives it a prompt, hey, where's the best Mexican restaurant around? Where should I go on vacation? Which car dealership is the best? Questions like that, the search platform that you're putting that question or prompt into is going to index lots of information available out there online to say, hey, based on what we can see, here's the sites or videos that give you the best answer to the question that you're asked, right? That's really the simplified explanation of what you're trying to do. Now, traditional search engine is like that Dewey Decimal code concept, okay? We've got some coding, here's some basic information, and then here's a whole litany of responses. And if you've ever done a search on Google, and you may have noticed this, and if you haven't, do this the next time you do a search, look up in the corner and you're gonna see how many sites it indexed in a half a second to a second to give you the results, all right? Now, they're not that quick and that good. What happens is over time, they crawl or learn about the information on websites to say, okay, the next time somebody asks a question about X, Y, or Z, here's where we're going to send them or invite them to go visit, okay? And based on the quality of the answer that your site provides will dictate a bit of whether you appear first on the list, 10th on the list, somewhere on the second or the third or fourth or fifth page. Now, I want to ask you this. How many of you, when you're doing search, have ever gone to the second or third or fifth or 10th page when you've done a search result? Most of us stop at page 1 and we go from there, right? There are a few people, and sometimes I've gone to maybe the second or third page if I'm really looking for some specific information. Well, we're now getting involved. And so with that Dewey Decimal System, again, going back to my library analogy there, when you needed help, who'd you go to? You went to the librarian, okay? And they were trained professionals to help you get the answer to what you were looking for, help you with that research to find things, because sometimes it could be pretty tough. I went to the University of Washington, go Huskies, and we had massive libraries, okay? Some of them that looked like they were straight out of Harry Potter with the architecture. And the Suzela Library had tons of content stored there in different floors and even in the basement. So sometimes you needed the help of an expert. So that librarian is what I would relate to what is now known as AEO. So we had SEO, search engine optimization. AEO is answer engine optimization. Okay? So that's when you're asking that question and you're not just relying upon the own information that you can find, but you're getting answers suggested to you. Just like that librarian would say, oh, hey, here's a suggestion on where to find that material or how to research it better and so forth. So again, if you've ever done a search, hey Siri, hey Alexa, hey Google, or whatever, you often now are given suggested answers near the top of the search result with answers that they think fit the question that you're asking. So it's no longer the searches often are no longer a specific phrase thing like, who is the best rated plumber around me? It's more, tell me about the plumbers near me, or more descriptive questions that are getting more descriptive answers. So the more that you spend time curating suggested answers or content, the better off or more likely these AEO responses, answer engine optimization responses, are going to serve you as a possible answer to the question that people are now asking. Okay, are you tracking with me? So first we started with simple SEO, right? Hey, here's a search and bing, here's a whole bunch of suggested sites that may answer your question. And over time, it would get better if it found that, hey, your site doesn't really do a good job of answering the question, or your website goes really slow. They're going to push you down and not rank you as high as the other ones that tend to, quote unquote, answer the question better. How do they know whether they're answering the question better or not? They look at things like how long did they spend on your website when you click on that proposed answer? How many pages did they visit? And if they see that people searching spend more time on your website and visit more pages, they're like, oh, they must have found the answer when they went there. If they see that you went to that website, you didn't visit any other pages, you only spent 20 seconds, they're going to go, wow, that site probably didn't really answer the answer well. Let's push it down so less people waste their time going to that website. Okay? You guys are getting the greatest SEO training here ever known to man. All right. So now, how many of you guys have heard of the term GEO? Anybody know what that means? Generative Engine Optimization. So now we're leveling up, okay? Level 1 SEO, level 2 AEO, now level 3 GEO. Think of this as the AI platforms and the ways that you can increase the likelihood that if somebody does a prompt or asks ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Copilot, or other AI platforms for help or guidance or answers to questions. This is the work that's done to increase the likelihood that they provide you as a source to an answer, or even a suggested provider if you're a service provider or an education system and you're asking about what are some of the best schools for elementary children in my neighborhood. And it's going to give a bunch of prompts and recommendations. That's just not being guided by Google with Gemini or the other companies that own the other or the other AI platforms. They're doing research like we used to do, but at a much more rapid pace. Okay. When you think about it, how many of you are using AI platforms right now? I imagine most of you watching this. And if you do kind of the higher level, just not the fast version, you'll notice it's taking a couple minutes, but it can do some pretty intense research, right? Much more research in a faster time than we used to be able to do with traditional search back when it first started, 20-ish years ago. And so you're getting more answers at a rapid pace, and it's curating and checking a lot more sources. Same concept as SEO back in the day, just at a much accelerated pace. So the synthesis here is, as you think about how do I improve the likelihood that somebody finds me, my organization, my school, my government agency, my nonprofit, or whatever it is, as a possible answer to the question, it really comes down to quality content, quality relevant answers that are pushed across and published across your own site as well as other sites. Taking advantage of all the different places that you can push content now. Because the more places you can be referenced or source, the more likely you are to become an answer that ChatGPT gives, or Siri gives, or Google gives, or DuckDuckGo, or wherever people are going to search. So again, go back to those principles. SEO, right? Basic indexing. Here's some options. AEO, That's where you're starting to give the possible answers. And now when you get to that GEO side, you're looking at all sorts of content. So which content's valuable? Content on your website, images on your website, content and images properly tagged, video content. Yes, it's powerful. Let me ask you this. How many of you would rather listen to something for a couple minutes versus having to read something for 10 minutes to get the same information? Most people nowadays want to digest that content quickly, get the information they want and need, and if they want to dive deeper, they'll do that. So video content is so powerful, and all these platforms know that, so they will often reward you if you have good, relevant video content that just doesn't have a great video, but has a great title, has a great headline, has a great description, and has tags or keywords that are highlighted there that could be picked up in a search query on an AI platform or a traditional search platform. Now, a couple of things that people still do and are kind of considered not white hat necessarily or good practices, but maybe gray hat or even black hat bad practices is what's known as keyword stuffing. So if you want to show up for someone searching for air conditioning repair, you write an article and you just stuff it with all these words that are related to AC repair, okay? And if anybody ever actually read that content or that article, they'd be like, what is this? It doesn't even make sense. It's not real sentences, okay? Or getting a bunch of spammy backlinks, meaning sites that have access to your information and link back to you as a reputable source, okay? Theory is if more places have me posted and refer to me or refer people to me, that's going to be good. Yes, in theory, but you also have to look and say, what's the quality or the caliber of those sites that you're listing yourself on? If they're sites that are spammy or don't have what's known as a strong domain authority, you're actually going to hurt yourself, okay? So good content, whether that's written, visual, or video, published nicely and succinctly and organized well on your sites, as well as your social platforms and other places, and then creating strategic partnerships where your content can also be shared and published are going to really help elevate the likelihood that when someone uses the power of search, you're going to have a greater chance that all this indexing and sorting and everything that goes on gives a greater chance that you might be given as the answer next time someone says, "Hey Siri" or "Alexa."
Thanks for listening to On Point by Target River. If you're ready to grow your organization with real strategy that generates meaningful results, visit targetriver.com and connect with our team today. Stay focused, stay winning, and stay on point. We'll see you next time.